are you today? I hope you're doing well. I am here today to introduce a series. I did this last night, but it was really, really dark, so I'm going to reintroduce it today. And I want to talk about the topic that is the most near and dear to my heart, the topic that fills me with the most emotion, and the topic that is the most, I'm not going to say difficult to talk about, but there is a lot of emotion that I feel about this, and there is a lot for me to cover, and so I just want to get it right. And that is animals, and particularly the lives of animals that have been domesticated for food. So I have spoken about this last night, and I just wanted to start actually today at the beginning. So we will begin at the beginning with the dinosaurs and even bugs. The original framework of this planet had, or one of the ones that we can see from archaeology, had dinosaurs on it. And the dinosaurs fell into one of three categories: herbivore, carnivore, or omnivore. And everything else in nature, even when the dinosaurs were wiped out and replaced with human animals made in the image of a god, they fall into the same three categories: herbivore, carnivore, and omnivore. So it is irrational and improbable for anyone on Earth to assume that everyone on Earth is going to be a certain way. You could not ask everyone on Earth to eat only plants, just like you couldn't ask everyone on Earth to eat only meat. Now, there are some human beings that are made, they do not eat vegetables. They do not eat carbohydrates. They don't want even the potatoes with their meat. They just want the meat. Every once in a while, they'll get a craving for something else, like a piece of fruit or something else, and they'll eat it. And then they're okay, and they survive, and they live long, happy lives. And conversely, there are people who only eat plants who are like that. There are people in the middle, and there is also a spectrum from one extreme to the other. I happen to fall really, really more like I just want the plants, but occasionally I have to consume the flesh of something to give me the protein that my body needs because of the amount of carbohydrates that I eat, because of the amount of exercise that I do, and because of the amount of things that I just eat in general. That's just body chemistry, and you can't fault human beings or any other animal in creation for doing that. You cannot ask the planet Earth and the what is it called? The food chain to stop killing other animals in order for it to eat, because that's trying to upset the nature of things. Now, I understand extreme veganism because they're responding to an extreme evil. The genocide of these pigs, cows, and especially chickens is an abomination. This is a crime against life force. This is beyond racism. This is beyond anything that has to do with class. This is just disrespect of life force in general. And I appreciate the extreme vegans for standing for a cause. I'm going to get emotional because they are really, really on an extreme, but they're fighting something that is so unbelievably extreme. And at the end of the day, when the battle has been won and these animals are given their respect and they're stopped being killed en masse by these corporations, these people will be able to hold their heads high because they sacrificed and they stood a line for the voiceless. And I really do appreciate that about them. However, any good activist understands that you cannot have progress without compromise. And any good person, any person who's just thinking logically, knows that you have to have balance. And any person who respects life will respect the purpose of a food animal on Earth. And that's all it really is about at the end. It's about respecting life force, and then respecting the natural order of things, respecting each other, and you can tell a lot about a society, everything you need to know, based on how they treat animals. And society right now is very messed up, and I hope that it changes very soon. And so that is part one. If I don't know how I'm going to edit this together, but I hope that this is going to be the introduction because this is with the best lighting. Okay, I love you. Hello, friends. So in this segment, I'm going to give you a little backstory on me, myself, and my journey with pescatarian living, vegetarian living, and vegan living, all different styles that I have, and even being a meat eater. When I was very, very young, obviously, I ate at first whatever was put on the plate, but I never really liked meat. I would always have real troubles with chicken just because there's too much of the anatomy still left when you're eating a chicken. Like a chicken leg, you're ripping flesh and tendon and veins and stuff away from the bone. I'm not, like, that's not me. That is so not my personality. And that used to very much disturb me. Even looking at other people eat chicken very much disturbs me sometimes. Even though I'm a foodie and I love to watch food videos, I've gotten over it. Probably partially because of watching the videos, because I watched some people, I used to watch a guy who has since passed away, who used to eat pig ear and knuckle and stuff. And honestly, I'm not lying. I love this man, but sometimes I would have to turn off the videos because it was just too much. But I have never liked food of the animal source. Now, my grandmother used to serve us fish, and she would at least cut the heads off for us. And I used to pick the flesh of the fish from its little thin bones when I was a little girl, almost like the game Operation. So for me, there's always been this thing with me and fish where, like, I'm okay with the fishes, even the anatomy of a fish is once it's cooked, the little thin bones and everything. As long as I don't have to see the head and the eyes, I'm okay with fish. And I always have been ever since I was a little girl. But I do not like meat, and I never, bless you, boo. And I never really did. We used to go, when I was young, we used to go to a place called The Sizzler, and it was like a family-style steakhouse, and they had this amazing salad bar. And I would always go for the salad bar and the cheesy garlic bread, and I would inevitably, somebody else at the table, bless you, boo, would be eating my steak. And that's how I've always been. I was heavy onto grains. I loved pasta. I loved rice. I loved all of that stuff, and bread, and not at all meat. And then when I was about 12 years old, the actor River Phoenix passed away, and I was a brooding 12-year-old, and it was the first real, like, tragic death that I had ever experienced because he was just so young and so vibrant and full of life. And so as an honor to his life, I decided to become a vegetarian. I decided to stop eating whatever little meat I did eat on occasion, in an effort to keep his memory alive. I wanted to do something that was a cause that was very dear to his heart, and I thought this is something that I can carry with me for the rest of his life and honor this man's spirit for the rest of my life. And at 12 years old, I thought it was such a noble thing. And so I became a vegetarian. And for many, many years, I kind of got a little bit unhealthy because I did eat a lot of cheese. And I did gain a lot of weight, and things like that. And I wasn't necessarily that healthy. And I remained that way for many, many years. Once I got about 25 years old, I started to lose weight and start to get into health and fitness. And once I did, I learned by that time veganism was a thing that was popular. And when I tell you, I was born in 1980. When I was young, I'd never even heard the term. I never even heard the concept. My grandmother's daughter, the one who ended up abducting her in the end, was a lifelong vegetarian. And I don't believe she would even eat eggs or fish, but she did eat cheese. I didn't even know a single person, except for one girl in my class when I went to Hebrew school, whose dad was a raw vegan. And she used to bring, when it was pizza day, she used to bring raw vegan pizza to school. And I thought it was the most astonishing, unique, incredible thing. That was at the time. It was astonishing and unique and incredible. Cut to 20 years later, it's a trend. And it was one that I took up when I started to become healthy.